Star Trek Lower Decks recently capped off its fourth season with an epic finale featuring beloved guest stars, an emotional tribute, and huge character moments for all of our favorite Lower Deckers. With Season 5 on the horizon, here's a rundown of everything we know about the upcoming Star Trek Lower Decks Season 5 of the USS Cerritos crew. The animated series, Star Trek Lower Decks, has carved its own importance in the Star Trek universe, bringing a comedic twist that has resonated with fans both old and new. The fourth season of Star Trek Lower Decks wrapped recently with a cinema-grade finale titled Old Friends, New Planets, which Trek movie and many fans are calling the show's best season ending yet. Not wanting to let the excitement cool, showrunner Mike McMahan is eager to drop hints on his plan for Season 5 and beyond. Paramount Plus officially renewed Star Trek Lower Decks for a fifth season in March 2023. This early renewal, even before the fourth season aired, demonstrates a strong commitment to the series by the streaming platform. Star Trek is a science fiction entertainment franchise created by Gene Roddenberry. It began with the television series Star Trek, which first aired on NBC in 1966. The show is set in the future and follows the adventures of the starship USS Enterprise and its crew as they explore the galaxy and defend the United Federation of Planets. Fans can typically expect a new season of Lower Decks to premiere around August or September each year. If this pattern holds, the crew could return for more interstellar hilarity by late summer 2024. However, the industry-wide disruptions could potentially push this date back. McMahan previously promised that Season 5 is incredibly Star Trek. Also, keeping the best surprises close to his chest, he promised a couple of fun legacy characters, some great Orion stuff, and everything you like about Lower Decks in ways that you haven't seen before. With SAG-AFTRA securing a deal and bringing an end to the strikes. In speaking about Season 5 of Lower Decks, Tawny Newsome and the other cast are already back in the recording studio doing voice work for the next installment, saying, "We just got back into the room and started recording those." She went on to explain that for her, there's a new maturity to Mariner, but not to worry as she's still an element of chaos. She said, "The thing I notice a lot about the Season 5 scripts, which we have just got back into the room and started recording those, is that she has to navigate being, she can't just be reckless for recklessness' sake anymore. She can't do the self-destructive thing anymore. She really has to pick her battles, and she has to find the moments where she's accepting the responsibility of her promotion, but also still pushing and trying to make Starfleet better. So yeah, there's a much more mature approach to things, but she's still Mariner. She's still an element of chaos in all things." Showrunner Mike McMahan has expressed concerns about the future of Lower Decks, stressing the importance of viewership for the show's survival. With the animated Prodigy facing its own challenges and other Star Trek series wrapping up, McMahan urges fans to watch and promote the show early into its release to secure its continuation. Jack Quaid and Tawny Newsome are anticipated to continue as the central duo, Boimler and Mariner. The rest of the ensemble, including Noel Wells, Eugene Cordero, and others, are likely to return, maintaining the dynamic character chemistry fans love. Star Trek Lower Decks Season 5 is on its way, with much excitement and a bit of uncertainty. The show's continuation seems contingent on the fans' active support. As McMahan has put it succinctly, to keep the USS Cerritos on its voyage, the fans' mission is clear: watch and advocate for this beloved animated trek through the stars. While there is no exact release window set for Star Trek Lower Decks Season 5, there's still plenty to look forward to in the Star Trek universe. Star Trek Discovery is set to air its fifth and final season sometime in early 2024, and Star Trek Prodigy Season 2 will be arriving on Netflix sometime after the new year. Seasons 1 to 4 of Lower Decks are available to stream on Paramount Plus. One of the more challenging aspects of writing Lower Decks has been allowing the characters to grow, evolve, and move up the ranks while still maintaining their inherent Lower Decks chemistry. This topic has come up in some of a series of post-finale interviews Mike McMahan gave, who confirmed that next season, the animated comedy will continue to be less about the big missions and glamorous assignments, and more about the crew figuring out who they are as people. Mariner, for example, will show signs of having worked through her grief over the loss of Sito Jaxa. McMahan described Mariner's new outlook on life. Season 5, Mariner is much more joyful. She's still Mariner. She's still chaotic. She's still hilarious, but she isn't weighed down by the weight of not having spoken about Sito. The final scene of the season finale featured Tendi being recalled to her home planet and boarding an Orion ship. McMahan is quick to assure fans that this is not an attempt to drop the character. Speaking with Inverse, he confirmed, "Tendi will return. Tendi is not being written out of the show. This isn't a bad thing for Tendi. She's going to go and kick some ass." He assures us that this is an attempt to develop her character in a way that doesn't depend on her getting a promotion, and may not depend on her being in Starfleet at all, McMahon hinted. Tendy's been trying to figure out if she is Starfleet or if she is the mistress of the Winter Constellations. And at the end of this episode, she's like, no, I'm Devana Tendy. I'm something new that exists in both, and my sister wants me to come back to Orion. Well, she might have bitten off a little more than she can chew. T'Lyn, a more recent addition to the crew, grew in popularity among fans in Season 4 and will be a major player in Season 5. While guarded about details, McMahon said, "There's some really funny stuff for her in Season 5. I don't want to give away how can I say this? T'Lyn's story in Season 5 involves her and another character in an interesting way, and you see T'Lyn embrace science and Starfleet more than I think people anticipate." Mike promises that in addition to T'Lyn, we will see more of Ma, the Klingon lower decker who rose to captain in the Season 2 episode Wedge Dodge, and returned in Season 4, helping Mariner out in Season 9, calling Ma'a the Klingon boiler. McMahon says in an interview that he sees potential there too. Ma'a is not on the same path as T'Lyn, but I love Klingons, and I love Ma'a, and you get more. This is not the end of Ma'a. Fans of Star Trek Deep Space Nine will recognize the pattern of gradually expanding the show's supporting character list. Having a deep bench of interesting recurring characters was one of DS9's greatest strengths, and Lower Decks has already seen the same kind of benefit from it. With the stories getting bigger in scope each season and the characters growing in new and exciting ways, McMahon is also careful to point out what areas the show shouldn't change and needs to stay close to its original concept. Lower Decks originally focused on more self-contained stories, contrasting sharply with the highly serialized Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek Picard. But with Season 4, the writing team experimented with a full-season story arc. McMahon insisted that won't be a permanent trend. We know Season 4 took some serialized elements we had done before and kind of ramped them up across the whole season more. But there's a little bit of serialization in Season 5, but not to the extent that you saw this season. This one was a special take on it. Going forward, the writing will still maintain the same deep love for Trek lore, the same Easter eggs, and the same deep-cut reference jokes that have made Lower Decks work so far. Mike McMahon insists that these touches aren't fan service and are the reason the show works so well. He's a fan himself, making the show he wants, and other fans get it. He summarizes his view in a recent episode of the Seventh Rule podcast. If you love Lower Decks, it's kind of proof of, like, a superfan can kind of make a show for themselves, and the things that could read as fan service to other people, yeah, it's sort of fan service to me. Like, I'm a fan of the thing I wanted, the stories I wanted to tell, and the way I wanted to tell it. My initial theory was, well, if I'm happy, you'll all be happy, and most of the time, that works. So, that's it. Excited for Season 5? Fingers crossed. Comment down your predictions. Do hit the like button and subscribe for more.